Ever since I was young, I've always prided myself in my hearing. I can hear the sounds of heaven and hell. People think me insane, but I am not insane. No. Simply just listen to my story, and you'll understand. I'm not really sure when it started. My hatred for that eye. I had always quite liked my cousin, who let me stay in her home since about 2 years ago. But her eye, like that of a vulture, had always given me nightmares. Whenever she looked at me with it, my blood would go cold, my heart would sink, and my hatred of it would grow. And so I had decided that in order to shut that eye forever, I would need to kill my cousin. Now you may see me as insane, like all the rest, but someone who's insane could not have come up with a plan so brilliant. All week, I kept acting as I always had, as to not arouse her suspicions. But every night at midnight, I would go to her bedroom door. Once I was there, I would, ever so quietly, open her door just wide enough to fit my hand and head inside. I would always bring a small light with me so that I could shine a small light over that cursed eye. Though I could not kill her, as her eye was always closed, because it wasn't my cousin that I wanted to kill, but her eye. This continued on for an entire week. For those 7 long days, I would ask her every morning how she slept, with her not possibly able to know that each night I would watch her sleep. The 8th night, I was as careful as always, and everything proceeded as usual. But for some reason, that night I was certain it would happen, that I would die. However, as I crept into her room that night, something unexpected happened. My cousin woke up from her sleep and demanded to know who was at her door. The room was dark enough that she couldn't see it was me, but she could sense my presence, the presence of death. As we sat there in stalemate, I slowly shined the light onto that eye. I couldn't see my cousin's face, only the evil in that eye. My hatred grew more and more as I stood there. You may remember me mentioning my incredible hearing earlier. Well, in that moment, I could hear a soft beating sound. It was the beating of my cousin's heart. As we sat there, the beating grew louder. Her fear grew tremendously, and my hatred grew greater. It was then that I decided to strike, suffocating her in her bed. She struggled and struggled as I heard her heartbeat begin to fade, until finally there was silence. You may think, now more than ever, that I have truly lost my mind. But can an insane person hide a body so well? I started by cutting apart the body ever so carefully, so that all of the blood went down the drain. I then carefully hid each part of her body underneath the floorboards, where they would never be found. I finished cleaning up from the murder early in the morning. However, that afternoon, there was a knock at my door. It was 2 police officers who had gotten a report from my neighbors that there was screaming coming from my house. I assured them that it was nothing more than a terrifying nightmare that had caused my screams, and that my cousin had left to visit a friend the morning prior. Regardless, I welcomed them into the house to look around, as I was sure that they would never find the body. After the officers had searched the house thoroughly, I, in my confidence, offered to let them stay for a while and take a break. They accepted my offer, of course, as they didn't seem to suspect me of anything, and were clearly wanting to stop working. Though I appeared to be having a fun chat with them, it wasn't long before I wished that they would leave. My head had begun to hurt, and I was hearing a sound in my ears. I continued to talk with them, however the sound only continued to get louder. I quickly began to realize that the sound was not coming from inside my own head. It was from somewhere else. I began to panic. I started talking faster, more frantically, yet the sound only became louder. It was a soft, yet loud beating sound, a sound I was getting all too familiar with. It kept getting louder. I got up and tried to make noise to cover it up, but it only got louder. How did the officers not hear it? Were they deaf? No, that's not it. They heard the sound. They were mocking me. The beating kept getting louder and louder. I couldn't take it anymore. I did it! I killed her! Her body's under the floor. My cousin is dead. But why does her heart keep beating? Why won't it stop beating?